This podcast may contain explicit language. Welcome to the Greatest Movie of All Time podcast, the show that uses a unique grading style to redefine what the greatest movies are. I'm Tom Duncan.
And I'm Dana Duncan.
Tonight, we also welcome our returning celebrity guest, host and creator of the Shea Cinema podcast. You will remember her from her previous appearances with us on the 12 Angry Men Revisit and Barry Lyndon. It's Sara Shea!
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for having me back and putting up with my costume shenanigans.
Yes, so what are you cosplaying as tonight?
I am cosplaying as a random client at our protagonist George's hair salon.
So you've already had your shampoo done?
I'm pretty sure that they shampoo and then curlers, and then he runs out on my appointment, and this is how I'm left because I don't know how to do my hair myself.
I see. Yeah. Okay. Understood. This is actually the first time that you're involved on the show by yourself.
True.
Without another guest.
I know. It's kind of scary.
Ooh. Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure.
Rowboat without a paddle.
Yeah.
Lost dinghy at sea.
Oh boy. Just keep going.
But tonight, for our 248th episode, we discuss Shampoo from 1975, celebrating its 50th anniversary this week. Directed by Hal Ashby, written by Warren Beatty and Robert Towne, music by Paul Simon, starring Warren Beatty as George Roundy, Julie Christie as Jackie Shawn, Goldie Hawn as Jill Haynes, Lee Grant as Felicia Karp, Jack Warden as Lester Karp, Tony Bill as Johnny Pope, Jay Robinson as Norman, George Firth as Mr. Pettis, Randy Shear as Dennis Lally, Susanna Moore as Gloria, Carrie Fisher as Lorna Karp. Background for the movie: Shampoo was released on February 11th, 1975. It was met with mixed critical results, but was an audience hit, making $60 million internationally on a $4 million budget and finishing number 3 at the box office for 1975. The film was nominated for 4 Academy Awards for Best Supporting Actor for Jack Warden, Original Screenplay for Towne and Beatty, and Art Direction, while winning for Best Supporting Actress for Lee Grant. In 2000, Shampoo made AFI's 100 Years, 100 Laughs at number 47. Shampoo currently holds a 73% among critics on Rotten Tomatoes, a 65 score on Metacritic, and a 3.4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. So as we begin each week, Dad, what is your relationship to this film?
It's about 1977. I convinced my dad to get HBO home box office at the house. And this was one of the feature films in the guide and ran several times. So I think I watched it 2 or 3 times that month.
So this is the third and a half Beatty film that I've seen. I've seen Bonnie and Clyde multiple times. For the life of me, I'm not sure why. I've seen The Parallax View, which I enjoyed, I will say. Alan J. Pakula saves Warren Beatty from himself a little bit for that one movie. And I watched about, I think, the first hour of Reds, and for whatever reason, never went back to it.
Because it's boring. Now, one of Warren Beatty's best films is Heaven Can Wait.
I have not seen that. And that's also a remake, so...
I know, but it's a complete remake. It doesn't even follow the original film. But it's James Mason, Buck Henry, Jack Warden. It's a good film. It's funny.
Also, the great Bill Hader, since you bring up James Mason, the great Bill Hader does one of the best James Mason impersonations I've ever seen. And if you can find it anywhere on the internet, him doing his impersonation of James Mason not being able to get a donut coupon received, that it had expired, it's fantastic.
I'm writing this down. I'm gonna watch it.
Oh yeah, you should be able to easily find it. I've seen it pop up on TikTok every so often.
It was his
great.
audition piece for Saturday Night Live.
Oh, was it really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. Excellent. Yeah, for me, I saw this movie 25 years ago or so in college. We all thought that we were super hip and progressive, and we're watching a movie that was filled with sex and ooh, and so we all thought we were with it, and we had to like rent it from a specialty video store because you couldn't really find it at like Blockbuster or anything like that. So yeah, I've seen it several times since then, and we were, I think, fairly titillated by it at the time, seeing it at like 19 years old or so, which makes sense. But the more that I watch it, the older I get, the more sad it is. So yeah, I have a storied past with this film, I suppose.
So Warren Beatty is allegedly 34 in this movie. I don't think that quite computes, but even so, let's go and take it at face value. That is the current age that I am, and I would not recommend anybody watching this until they're probably about 30 in order to truly understand anything about what we're going to answer for our second question. What is this movie about? Because I have to believe that, similar to the song Desperado, the movie's all about stop fucking around, quite literally, and figure out what you actually want from your life.
Yeah, I think this movie, to me, watching it right now, having just rewatched it again and being in my mid 40s, it's pretty much about arrested development, right? Beatty's character has not grown up. I think he's actually something like 38 years old or so when this is filmed. And so he's trying to play even a little bit younger. And is he just writing a movie about himself? That's kind of what it feels like to me. I'm sitting there going, what are the deeper themes? And I don't know if I can actually give him enough credit for really thinking about a deeper theme other than here's a movie that I can write, which is titillating, and I get to get laid. And he almost gets there at the end, almost. But I don't think it's that deep.
The ending to me feels unearned.
Yeah.
I feel it's the ending to a different movie that they had set out to write and didn't end up leading up to.
Yeah.
Maybe the last like 20 minutes tangentially has to do with the events occurring earlier in the movie, but I don't see how it leads to that point and feels like it's a natural conclusion for everything else that's been happening.
In terms of where Warren Beatty's character ends up or where the other characters end up, or the whole thing?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I've said all along that every person has an epiphany. It's a moment where they decide to take control of their life. Some people, it's, when they're 46. Some people, it's when they're 22. I think mine was when I was 12. It's when you can stand up or when you understand that what your parents may say to you is not always the most intelligent thing.
My moments of clarity usually come post-coital, and it's really annoyed most of my partners.
Yeah, post-nut clarity, that's a thing. And
yeah.
George literally does not have it ever. he orgasms so much, he should be in an extreme state of zen and have his life together, right?
Sexvana.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you got to stay hydrated to have that much sex. And I certainly didn't see that.
We're in good shape. I mean, with that much thrusting, he's got to have some great abs.
I guess, but, no. I mean, it's just kind of like he's kind of bumbling, fucking screwing away his life. And then, like, in the last 20 minutes, he comes to some sudden epiphany that maybe this is meaningless. And then all of a sudden, it's supposed to change. And who he attaches to is a mistress who's basically just looking to get the money from the guy she's with, and then wonders why she left.
But do you think that he actually has an epiphany, or he's just saying what he thinks that they want him to say? Because when he has that conversation with Jill right before that, he doesn't apologize, right? So then I don't even know if he actually has an epiphany.
The only way that the ending makes sense is if George feels his way of life slipping away and he doesn't want to be alone.
Right. Yeah, I know that guy.
I mean, because to me, that would actually be a sensible ending. It would fit with his entire character and modus operandi throughout the course of the film. But to me, the way it's presented is that he has this moment of clarity leading to him making his own proposal and then accepting the ramifications of him fucking around for a decade or more.
Can you really believe that Lee Grant's now got half of Lester's money and she's going to be open? I mean, you're going to tell me he's not going to go back to that?
Well, until she talks to her daughter.
Her daughter hates her, though, remember?
That's true. But then she would try and ruin the potential relationship between the two of them.
What relationship? We're not talking about dating. We're talking about fucking.
That's true. You don't think that Carrie Fisher's character would like just be all in on it, and George, Warren Beatty, gets to have sex with a mom and a daughter at the same time while they're both trying to screw each other over?
I think it would be one of the weirdest thruples I've seen on film.
100%. Do you think these characters have any sort of moral compass that would steer them in an appropriate direction?
Before we move on, yeah, please define the term thruple.
Okay. It's 3 different flavors of Ripple ice cream.
Well, that's not nearly as bad as I thought it could have been. It's a rather in vogue term meaning 3 people in a couple. It's basically a love triangle. It's a new term for it.
No, it wouldn't be a love triangle. It would be consensual relationship among 3 people. A love triangle implies that there's only...
Yeah.
Not really, because, and mentioning the best show on television currently, how can you have a consensual relationship with Miss Cobell and Mrs. Selvig with an innie and an outie?
Totally different concept.
Sorry, we're talking about Severance.
Severance.
Which I will say, one of the proudest moments of the last, probably 2 years that I've had is when I turned on episode 1, the pilot, because I was going to rewatch it before starting season 2. And my dad and my mother were in the room. My dad actually set his phone down. He was on the edge of his seat, and he stayed that way for the entire hour. Whereas my mother, predictably, was, so that weird show that you were watching. Yes, Mom, that weird show that I was watching.
I mean, to be fair, you got me hooked on it too, so good job.
I've done my work.
Yes. That's why we're getting
I don't think my
later.
dad has seen past the pilot at this point, but still.
I think I watched the second episode with you.
Maybe.
So that's about it. I haven't been watching a whole lot of television.
That's fair. I've barely had enough time to try and keep up with it's movie month, given that all the Oscars are coming. So
actually, I'm coming to think about it, the only TV that I actually have watched is because of you, Tom. Because you were like, oh yeah, Squid Game is on. Oh yeah, you have to watch Severance.
Oh yeah, White Lotus is in 2 weeks. Or actually next week.
God damn it.
I watch movies, I watch sports.
Just focus on 1934. I said I would limit my recommendations until such time as you'd done your full prep work.
It is only a few days away. And when we are done, I will have watched 29 movies, more than Andrew. So I win.
I was the first one past the poll on that.
No. I know. I'm not competing. I was competing with myself. Yeah, you're always gonna. You've gotten it. You have the title.
At this point, I've beaten Andrew so much at his own show that I just let it go. And now I've gone the opposite way. I've gone to basically firebombing the entire thing and exercising a sort of anarchist vibe to the show.
Yeah, I can see that.
Especially since I didn't pick the years that we were doing. My co-host, who's on said episodes of Rev Almanac with me, is more inclined to pick the years. And for some godforsaken reason, he picked 1967. Oh, well, I got
Because
the
of
good,
the
the bad, and the
book.
ugly to win a bunch of shit.
Yeah,
Because of
The book was good. The book was
Yes.
good. It was much better than all the movies it was talking about.
True.
So we could have just done a book report. I would have been happy with that.
Like I almost did with Barry Lyndon. I apologize.
Yeah.
Never apologize. Never admit defeat. Doesn't happen. Anyway, moving on. Well, let's get back to discussing what this show is supposed to be about.
Right.
What the fuck is Warren Beatty trying to say with his collection of films? We have Bonnie and Clyde, Parallax View, Shampoo, and Reds.
His his films are more about who he's living with at the moment than anything else, because every time he's done a major film, he's got a new girlfriend. He's with Diane Keaton for Reds. He's with, and I'm trying to remember who was the love interest in
But he starts writing this movie while he's working on Bonnie and Clyde because Robert Towne came in and helped with the script on Bonnie and Clyde.
Okay.
And so they started that relationship, and they've been developing this movie for 8 years. So it's not like it's completely out of the blue. But during that entire period, I want to say he was dating Julie Christie. On again, off again, on again, off again, on again, off again.
So my favorite Warren Beatty film is not one that he wrote. It's Dick Tracy, but I do believe he was in a relationship with Madonna at the time that movie came out as well. And so, yeah, I think honestly, excuse me for being crass, I think he writes his movies and picks his movies with his penis. It is literally whatever's he thinks is gonna make him look the best and come off as like this sort of virile, irresistible man. I think too, if we want to be a little bit, again, I don't want to give him too much credit, I think he's a little bit of a nihilist. I just don't think that he cares about anything. His films seem to be really dismal, quite honestly.
Yeah, the term awards bait or Oscar bait started with Reds. It was Warren Beatty trying to prove he was a real filmmaker. And he so overdid it. And Diane Keaton was in that, I believe, if I remember correctly. And it kind of tanked. It got nominated. I mean, I remember watching it and going, this could have been good. It's just boring.
Well, for an allegedly major Hollywood star, he really doesn't have that many movies, and not that many that are like well known. In fact, one of his more well known movies might be one that you have publicly defended before, Dad. Ishtar.
Yep. I liked Ishtar. I thought it was hilarious. I saw it at the theater.
Goodness.
Okay. But I just, he's a bit of an enigma in this way. I want to say there's always some type of political stance to everything that he's doing, but he built his career out of popping off early in a movie in the early 60s, somehow translating it after almost being run out of town into Bonnie and Clyde being kind of this unusual success, and then being the counterculture leader allegedly with doing some of these other kind of against the grain movies like this or like Parallax View.
He is to movies what Kirk Gibson was to baseball. This guy who everybody ranted and raved about what a great player he was. And when you look at his statistics, he hit a home run in the World Series with a bad back. And the rest of the time, he was mediocre. And that's Warren Beatty. Everybody rants and raves about this guy, and he is nothing special.
I have to agree. I think he has just enough talent to like get in the door, but there's not a whole lot that goes on after that. Is it just that he's good looking? I don't even think he's that good looking. And I don't know. Yeah.
You can always count on an A's fan to pile on the Kirk Gibson hate.
Yes, that is correct.
And somewhere in a Home Depot, Kieran's ears are perking up.
Hi, Kieran.
He's probably in the chains and whips aisle at Home Depot.
Okay.
It's the same aisle. Aisle 7
Okay,
at Home
because
Depot.
you brought this up, all right, I'm just going to do this unprompted for the sake of everything. Andrew wanted to submit a Stealth 88 question.
Okay.
It's not so stealth anymore, but
Okay.
what is your most awkward or embarrassing sex story? I'm not sure I want to hear this.
Oh, I can tell it.
Hi, Andrew.
Are you going to let that pitch go?
You really want it?
No, not necessarily, but it is content.
So let's just say this. Your older sister, came into our bedroom one night and was going, "I can't sleep. I hear ghosts."
I will let everyone else figure out the second half of that story. But frankly, I've heard that one before, so I'm okay.
Okay.
At least it's not the kangaroo story. Anyway, moving on. Dad, do you have our plot summary ready for us?
Oh, I do. Shampoo is a sharp, bittersweet satire wrapped in the glitzy excess of the late 1960s Beverly Hills. The film follows George Roundy, Beatty, a womanizing hairdresser whose ambition is undercut by his inability to resist the charms of his wealthy clientele. On the eve of the 1968 presidential election, George juggles a tangled web of lovers, including his current girlfriend, Goldie Hawn, his wealthy benefactor's wife, Lee Grant, and his ex, Julie Christie, all while trying to secure financial backing for his own salon. Shampoo disguises its sharp political and social critique under a surface of sexual farce, letting the character's selfishness mirror the broader moral drift of the era. The film's humor is sly but never mean-spirited. Its direction, full of casual elegance, ensures that even the most ridiculous moments feel authentic. By the film's melancholic finale, Shampoo reveals itself as more than just a sex comedy. It's a lament for lost opportunities, both personal and political.
Thank you. I'll be honest, the Did You Know section for this was really slim pickings, so we're going to have to deal with what we've got here. But I hope these are worth it. Did you know the lead character was based on actual hairdressers Jay Sebring and John Peters? Did you know? Lovers off and on since 1967, Warren Beatty and Julie Christie broke up for good during the making of this movie. They remained friends and later worked together in Heaven Can Wait. Did you know? Lee Grant claimed in her 2014 autobiography that everyone knew Goldie Hawn and Warren Beatty were sleeping together, even though he was still involved with Julie Christie. And finally, did you know? Carrie Fisher said she was cast in the role, her film debut, mainly through family connections. She said when Warren Beatty ran lines with her, he did it whilst eating. She said the whole thing for her was a lark. She also admitted years later in an article she wrote for Rolling Stone magazine that star Beatty unsuccessfully propositioned her. According to Carrie Fisher, Warren Beatty had final say over her tennis outfit costume, including deciding if she would wear a bra underneath or not. And with that, we will take our first break, and we will be right back.
Hey, movie lovers, this is Kyle, host and producer of the Movie Wars podcast. We're not just a movie review podcast. There's plenty of those. On Movie Wars, a panel of stand-up comedians blends humor with deep film analysis using their unique war card system to grade movies across key categories. Each episode delivers thoughtful insights and spirited debate, offering a fresh comedic take on film analysis. New episodes drop every Thursday on all podcasting platforms and YouTube. Deeply researched, gut-wrenchingly funny, you'll love Movie Wars.
Before we jump back into the episode, next week we welcome back our most frequent guest, Christine Duncan, to discuss an 80s classic and one of Dad's favorites, The Breakfast Club from 1985. Written and directed by John Hughes, music by Keith Forsey, starring Emilio Estevez, Molly Ringwald, Anthony Michael Hall, Ali Sheedy, and Judd Nelson. You won't want to miss that one, so watch ahead of the show by searching the Real Good app to find where it's streaming for you. That's REELGOOD. Dad, are you looking forward to that one?
Oh, tremendously.
Yes, your John Hughes hate shall cometh out.
It's okay. It's okay to hate John Hughes. He actually stole people's screenplays and took credit for them and things like that. So it's all good.
Yeah.
Sure, that's why my dad hates him.
No, I hate him because he's just, everything's a stereotype, and it's always people that that are central to his themes that I hate.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, he despises people like Ferris Bueller. Okay, sure.
Even if you, as you've said, I was kind of like Ferris Bueller.
That is correct.
There are worse people to be like.
But before we get back into the rest of the episode, Sarah, what are you doing and where can people find you?
I'm currently festering during the school year, but right now actively preparing to appear on the Revisionist Almanac 1934 episode. So watching a bajillion movies for that. We're recording in a couple days. It'll come out, I don't know, probably a month or so after this episode drops. Preparing to be on a couple of other shows as well. Need to edit my own show. Need to get my dad healthy enough to keep recording. So it's really, right now is probably the busiest I have ever been with movies in my entire life. But in a matter of days, I can take a deep breath.
I'm not nearly as busy with movies, but I'm busier than I was last year when I watched every nominee for the Oscars. That was quite an accomplishment, and I don't think I really need to feel like I need to do that again. Because while some people, even on this podcast, might make sure that I watch Nosferatu, my need to watch Nosferatu is zero.
Oh, but it's so good. I mean,
Think of who I am. You know that's not in my wheelhouse, but
if you can handle the substance, you can handle Nosferatu.
What was the one where it was General Pinochet and he was a vampire last year? I mean, it was great cinematography, but it was such a weird fucking movie.
I don't think it's on that level. It's not that weird.
Okay, well, I have yet to watch a Robert Eggers film, so this is potentially an experience. But anyway.
I think actually probably Nosferatu is the most accessible Eggers film. Probably. Like, you wouldn't want to start with The Lighthouse, for example. That would not be a good way to go.
Yeah, probably not, from what I've heard. Anyway, we do have one listener question, and since it has to do with last week's episode, I will ask it here. Dad, this question comes from somebody at Rev Almanac, who asks, can you name all the different kinds of pasta you know in a Bubba Gump style?
Rigatoni, cavatini, linguine, spaghetti, lasagna, capatini, acine de pipi. Trying to think of theirs.
You've missed linguine, fettuccine.
I did say linguine.
Angel hair,
mostaccioli,
bow tie,
penne,
I think bow tie is called farfalle.
Okay, well, it says bow tie on the box. That's what I'm going with. Ravioli?
That's true. I make ravioli.
Yes, I know.
It's quite good, actually.
Yes, you make it with feta and lemon butter sauce.
No, it's pumpkin.
I thought it was a cheese, but okay.
Nope, we use pumpkin and with a burnt butter sauce. It's really good.
All right. Thank you to @RevAlmanac, whoever you may be. Excuse me, since I have a teacher on whomever you may be.
Thank you.
But let's get back into the movie. We left off at best performance. Dad, who did you have down?
I have Jack Warden. First of all, because I just love Jack Warden. I've loved Jack Warden from almost every film he's been in, from 12 Angry Men through all the years. I mean, he's just been a great character actor, and I was glad that he was able to get some recognition for this performance. And to me, I'm sure they didn't pick the name Carp for no reason. Being a bottom feeder, businessman, slime type. But Jack Warden played it brilliantly, and so he's my best performance.
I am my father's son, and I picked him for most charismatic as a result of that. But my best performance goes to Warren Beatty by default. And that's just because he had the most to do with the movie. And I think he should own this film.
I couldn't give it to him for that very reason.
I couldn't give it to him either. I'm going to go out on a limb and say best performance is actually Goldie Hawn, because she's the only character in the entire movie that I actually like. And she's doing her own thing. I thought about giving her most charismatic. We'll get into that in just a second. But she, to me, is the best thing about the entire film. She steals every scene that she is in. And I think she was written to be an idiot, and she manages to not be just an idiot and like her laugh-in personality. I loved every moment that she was on screen. So Goldie Hawn, best performance.
See, I went with my best secondary performance as Lee Grant. I thought she was the best of the female characters, to be quite honest. I thought she was the most layered, the one who probably put forward the most range of any of them. I don't know. I thought she was better.
Hard disagree. In fact, we can talk about it later. We can talk about it now. I do not think she deserved an Academy Award for her performance at all. You said she was layered. I thought she was completely one note the whole time, and she bored me. And I just kept saying, is that really Lee Grant? I've seen her do better performance in Omen 2. Okay, this is not it. I made Dana like actually laugh. Yes,
that's a film I haven't thought about in a long time.
Okay, she was so boring. This is not Academy Award level performance at all.
Compared to the rest of the film, it looked like it.
No, Goldie Hawn was right there. Goldie Hawn was right there.
I'm sorry. I found Goldie Hawn to just be constantly hysterical, and she was grating, if you ask me.
Did we watch the same movie? I mean, I know we all hated it, but
whereas I thought the best individual like monologue given to any of the characters was Lee Grant's speech to Lester while they're at that dinner.
Agree to disagree. I thought she was boring. Boring.
I am not on the 1975 version of the Revisionist Almanac, so I have no idea who else was up for that particular year, but I guess I don't have any
this year,
direct disagreement with Lee Grant winning Best Supporting Actress. However, I don't think that she will be anyone's personal vote, likely. I know she won't be Andrew's because he's very anti-shampoo. That's why his hair is always so oily.
But he gets a lot of sleep, so he's the prettiest of all of us. It's okay. All right. Well, we're going to agree to disagree on Lee Grant. Terrible, terrible performance.
Okay, fine. Who did you have as your best secondary?
So I kind of vacillated on this. I thought I was going to give it to Jack Warden, but I'm going to give him most charismatic. So best secondary performance, again, there's not a lot to like in this movie. Sorry, not sorry. I'm giving it to Carrie Fisher. She's in the movie for 5 minutes, and her scene is funny and awkward, and it's clearly she's talking about her own mother, Debbie Reynolds, the entire time. And I enjoyed it, and that scene stuck out to me. And so she's not the most charismatic, but I thought she was really good. So I was like, yeah, Carrie Fisher, there you go. That's Space Mom. Love it.
Yes, the best line of the entire movie that isn't who's the best blowjob giver in the entire world is wanna fuck.
Yeah. Wanna fuck? And then, oh boy.
Well, anyway, Dad, secondary performance.
I have Warren Beatty by default. I mean, he was in the film, so I'm supposed to
Okay.
love him, but I just can't. So I got to give him something.
You didn't have to give him anything, but
Oh, but I have to. It's Warren Beatty.
again,
I didn't give him anything.
at least he didn't say La La Land. Anyway, we have 2 votes for Jack Warden for most charismatic, and you have already awarded him something else, Dad. So who did you have?
For most charismatic, I have Goldie Hawn. Simply because it doesn't matter what she's in. I mean, I remember watching her on Laugh-In and thinking and laughing about what a bubblehead she was on the show. And then I watch her doing films, and actually there's a lot more to her and her acting than I originally thought. And so maybe it's still a surprise when I see her, and she actually seems like she can act, so that it makes her a little more charismatic because of that. But anyway, that's why.
I agree. I can agree to that.
Shocking. Utterly shocking.
What, the guests agree with me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, I gave her best performance because you guys are wrong for giving it to anyone else. But most charismatic, of course, she's adorable. She's adorable. She's also adorable, and she's rather funny. And I think she does actually give the most layered performance out of all of it, with all of the roller coaster of things that are going on. And she's not hysterical the whole time. She is hysterical most of the time, but not the whole time. Not the whole time.
Would you like to parse that out into percentages?
It might be like 90-10 hysterics,
Okay.
10%.
I was thinking more like 88-12, but okay.
I'll
Yeah.
take it. Yep.
Okay.
I'll agree.
All
I'll
right.
agree with you on that one. Sure.
I'm all for that nuance.
Good.
2% makes a difference.
Moving to best scene, I have 5
Wait,
nominees.
we
here.
aren't even going to talk about how charismatic Jack Warden is. I know
We
he
kinda
wins.
did.
No, because the whole point is you're supposed to hate him. I, as a woman, am supposed to hate him. And I found myself completely charmed by him and going, why do I like this guy? Why am I rooting for him? Why am I like excited that he's going to get naked in the hot tub with these people? It's supposed to be awkward, but I'm like, aw. Okay, we can move on now. Yay, Jack Warden.
Frankly, the only Jack Warden character I don't like is, what is it, juror number 6 or 7?
Right.
And
But he
that's,
did a great job.
well, yeah. Anyway, now we can move to best scene.
Okay.
Now that the show hath not been hijacked. I have 5 nominees here. Meeting with Lester, Election Night Dinner, After Party, Morning After, and Proposal and Acapulco. If you have to pick any one of these, because I have a feeling neither of you would nominate anything other than these 5 scenes. If you have to pick one as your best scene, what would it be?
Meeting with Lester, simply because it portrays Lester as being the epitome of the wealthy slimeball realtor mogul, Beverly Hills type, with his mistress, and how he just kind of slides around and kind of oozes kind of like a snail with a slime ball behind him wherever he goes. It's just perfect. It so sets up why this movie works to at least some extent.
Personally, I would go with the dinner because it's so awkward, and it's probably the scene that moves me the most, if that makes sense, because there's like some actual emotionality behind it, partly due to the awkwardness. But a drunk Julie Christie declaring herself as basically the world's blowjob queen was the funniest part of the entire movie.
No. The funniest part is, what the fuck was that senator like? What the fuck was that? I mean, really? Wow. Ugh. It's like anything that Ted Cruz is attending.
I'll be completely honest. I forgot about that when thinking about Classicness, and I had already given it a pretty low score. So that might be an extra point down. But we have yet to get there.
The funniest scene is clearly the very tense chase scene up the hill behind the house. I mean, that was high production.
So is that your best scene?
It was the most exciting.
So I'm going to take that as a yes.
I was like, is someone going to get hit by... They had to swerve out of the way of another car? And they went like 12 miles an hour? It was thrilling.
It was like a chase scene in a parking garage. But without the tires squealing.
I think they actually added in some tire squeals. But he's on that stupid motorcycle. Oh, God. The whole thing was so desperate. And I said it was the funniest. I didn't actually say it was the best scene. There's this part of me that wants to like nominate George being at Jackie's house and meeting Lorna and all of that. Being at Jackie's house and Lester comes in just for the awkwardness there. But all of these things happen in the second half of the movie. And I think I would put in and say the after party is such a weird sort of denouement to everything. You know, it's a sex party, I guess, because the Beatles are playing, and then suddenly Jimi Hendrix and all of that type of stuff. And it's what every sort of like Hollywood movie thinks happens at parties like that, but doesn't actually happen. I don't know. None of these scenes are very good to me. But I think that's a problem with the movie. None of them, I don't feel like there's any scene that actually stands out as being like the epitome of the movie. It's like little segments from here and there. So that's part of my problem as an audience member watching this film.
Favorite scene, I also have the election night dinner. I don't need to talk about it further. So favorite scenes for either of you?
I have the election night dinner.
And not applicable is not a choice, Sarah. But Dana has gone with the credits before.
Yes, I have.
Actually, I think
it was over.
Yeah, I think actually meeting Lorna is probably my favorite scene. It's just really unexpected. The conversation that they're having. Are you queer? Like, have you ever made it with a guy? Have you ever made it with a girl? Want to fuck? It's a whole own separate thing. Are you making it with my mom? Right. And all of that type of stuff. That's probably my favorite scene. But I'm saying that in the most mild way possible.
Most indelible moment, it's the ending. Okay. Because it doesn't fit. It has this weird car chase. It ends on such an emotionally sour note.
Honey, oh honey. Yeah. Ugh.
Any objections?
No.
Okay. So we can move from discussing the film specifically into the more generalized categories. But before we do, looks like a good spot for our second break. We will be right back. Before we jump back into the episode, did you know all of our newest episodes are also now in video format? That's right, you can see my resting nerd face and all of Dana's famous okays in pristine high definition. And that's not all. We're also on the cusp of a few different live streams coming up in the near future. First, our annual Oscars preview will be live streamed on our YouTube channel the week before the Oscars, and then we will have a live post-Oscars review the night after the awards with a whole bunch of your favorite guests dropping by to share their thoughts on what happened. We've also got a James Bond rankings live stream series planned and much, much more. If you want to check all of that out, just head to youtube.com/@GMotePodcast. And if you do, please like the video or subscribe to us. We would really appreciate it. Dad, do we have anyone to remember this week?
Yes. Olga James, 95, American singer and actress. Carmen Jones, Mr. Wonderful, The Bill Cosby Show. Ken Flores, 28, American comedian. And Dick Buttons, 95, American figure skater, Olympic champion 1948 or 1952, five-time world champion, color commentator at the Olympics or the Winter Olympics forever. And that's why we included him on here, because if you watch the Winter Olympics from about the late 60s until the early 90s, Dick Button was always talking skating, both men and women's, throughout the Olympics.
I have nothing to add, unfortunately, because I am not quite as old as you. And so all I will say here is we appreciate them all here for their contributions with a moment of silence in their honor. Thank you. All right, let's move to best funniest lines. Now, these can be a little bit ironic, so I'll start with the most ironic of all. George Roundy. Let's face it, I fucked them all. I mean, that's what I do. That's why I went to beauty school. I mean, they're always there, and I can't, I don't know what I'm apologizing for. So sometimes I fuck them. I go into that shop, and they're so great looking, and I do their hair, and they feel great, and they smell great. Or I could be out in the street, and I just could stop at a stoplight or go into an elevator, or it's a beautiful girl. I don't know. I mean, that's it. It makes my day. I mean, it makes me feel like I'm going to live forever.
It was like reliving the movie. That was so spot on.
George Roundy. Christ, they're women, aren't they? Have you ever listened to the women talk, man? Do you? 'Cause I do until it's running out of my ears. I mean, I'm on my feet all day listening to women talk, and they're only talking about one thing. How some guy fucked them over. That's all that's on their minds. That's all I ever hear about.
George, I don't fuck anybody for money. I do it for fun.
George Roundy. Last night I had a dream. I was 50 years old and I was supposed to meet Jill at the shop. It scared the hell out of me. Jackie Sean. Why? George. I can't imagine being with Jill when I'm 50 years old. I can't imagine not being with you.
Jackie Sean. Who does he think I am? Some cigar that he's got between his teeth?
Jill, are you married? Johnny. Sometimes, but not at the moment.
My last one. Lester. I just wish I knew what the hell I was living for. You can lose it all, I mean, you can lose it no matter who you are. What's the sense of having it all? Market went down 10 points last week. Goddamn Lyndon Johnson. Well, maybe Nixon will be better. What's the difference? They're all a bunch of jerks.
I'm out.
Oh, I've got many.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
All right, Masterpiece Theater, here we go.
All right. Let me see. This is a couple from Jill. It's all from the same exchange. Jill, the only way you're ever going to get money out of a bank is to rob one. Arguing. And then she says, you never stop moving, but you never go anywhere. Grow up. More from Jill. I don't want girls looking at me and knowing and me not knowing. It will help me if you tell me, because I'll know that you've lied to me all along, and I'll know that you're incapable of love, and that'll help me. And then George at the end. I don't trust anybody but you. And he probably says honey in there somewhere. There you go. You're welcome.
Okay, Pooh Bear. Anyway.
Okay.
Let's go to the Stanley rubric. We'll start with legacy first on this one, as we always do. This is a category measuring the legacy of the film roughly 5 years after it initially came out. So 1980 to today. What is the legacy of this film? We divide the category 5 points and 5 points for a total of 10 between the industry and the general audience. Dad, would you like to go first or second?
Oh, I'll go first. Industry. I don't think they really thought about this film much after it was released. It was on HBO. It ran through some of the cable networks and such for a while. So I'm going to at least give it a 2 for industry. For the public, no one thinks of this movie. I was going to give it a 1 until I asked at the office when they're informal, and we had 5 people who had actually seen it. And I couldn't believe it. So I have to go with a 1.5 because of that. Now, they were all over 40 or over 45, maybe even 50, but still.
This was a popular movie when it came out. That's all I can say. But it's kind of proving the point that they were all over 50, because you had to basically see this when it came out or very shortly thereafter in order to probably have seen the film, because nobody thinks about this. The industry has, for the most part, forgotten it, but I will give it a little bit of credit. Between this and the success of Parallax View and Heaven Can Wait, probably gave Beatty enough clout to get Reds made, because that movie took a lot to get made, even as much as we picked on it already tonight. But other than that, came and went like a fart in the wind, and the audience pretty much went with it. I have a 2.5 on the industry, and I have a 1.5 on the audience. And I think I was a little generous.
Yeah, you beat me.
I have a 4 overall.
Okay. So for me, for legacy for the industry, I'm going to give it a 2. I feel like that's very generous. And for audience, I'm giving it a 1. You know how I know about this movie? Because it has sex in it, and it, like, my friends in college, we were like, we want to watch movies with sex in it. And that's it. We should have just rented porn. It would have been more fun. We wanted to be titillated, and we were not titillated in the way that there are stag films more interesting than this film. I'm giving it a 1.
And those are films with deer in them.
Correct. Sometimes with horns.
Mm-hmm.
Very horny.
Yes,
deer.
They are very, very horny. That is a 3.5 average between the three of us. Impact and significance. This is where I have to give it a slightly different grade, because, as we mentioned, it has a different appreciation in the moment than it did afterward. So within the initial 5-year period for which this category is measured, and I suppose I should have given the description at the top like I normally do, impact and significance is a measure of the impact or significance of the film within the first 5 years that it was released. So roughly 1975 to 1980. What is the impact and significance of the film? We also split this category 5 and 5 points between the industry and the audience, like the last category. The industry had to give it a little bit of credit because of the financial success that it had. It was nominated for 4 Oscars, even though it was not up for Best Picture or Director. It did get in several other categories, including winning one of the major categories, even though one of us disagrees with that win. And I will say that, again, if you give a certain level of success to Beatty getting a project that nobody would fund off the ground, partly because this was the number 3 film of that year, despite the critics being somewhat mixed on this, I give it a 4 for the industry, and I give it a 4.5 for the audience, for an 8.5.
Well, let's just say that I'm not going to add anything to that because I have the exact same scoring.
Shocking that we would do that yet again, as we do almost every week. But all right, so let's get the monkey wrench's opinion.
Ooh.
You're talking to your future wife, Tom. Hush your mouth. I would say, I mean, I don't necessarily fully disagree with you. This is the one where I knew, yeah, you got to concede some points here because it was so incredibly popular. So you know what? I'm going to go easy on you. And on this one, I'm just going to give it the same score because I don't care.
Dad, would you like to help the math
we're
on
real
this one?
motivated on this film.
It's the curlers. She still has them in. So
you know what? Here's the thing. What we should have done is we should have given most charismatic performance to Warren Beatty's hairdryer, right? Because that thing pulled off an amazing performance. Suddenly, everybody's hair is perfect. Wigs are in place. It's stunning.
It's the only time I've thought of somebody overcompensating by having a hairdryer down their pants.
Yeah.
It was very phallic.
It really was. There's actually a scene in the salon where he's blow drying a woman's hair. She's like leaning over and her head is down and she's literally in his crotch as he's blow dry. Okay.
Since we mentioned stag films, I mean, and he does house calls. And just showing up at the door for somebody. Did somebody call for a blowjob?
In a better movie, he would have had that line.
All right. That is an 8.5 average between the three of us.
Damn it. It doesn't deserve it. I just don't want to give anything over a 5.
Oh, I don't think that's going to be in trouble after this point.
Probably.
All right, we go to novelty. This is a measure of the originality and the execution on said originality. We split this category between those two parts for a total of 10 points, 5 and 5 each. Sarah, would you like to start?
This story is completely unoriginal. It's been done 1,000 times before in better ways, in funnier ways. Love triangles, multiple people. It's better suited as a farce, which it never gets to that level. It's like a 1.5 for me in terms of originality. I just can't. I can't. I feel like a 5th grader wrote it. In terms of
You know, some interesting 5th graders.
Okay, like 9th grader.
You just about caught me in a spit take there.
Yes.
Like that close.
Oh, dang. But you admitted to it, so we've got that.
Yes.
Admitting to it is better than getting my entire laptop wet.
True. That's excellent.
But then that would be in the perfect condition for Warren Beatty to write something on it.
It would be better than this film. In terms of execution, there is nothing novel going on in terms of the execution. Everything is a standard shot. This is like filmmaking 101. Oftentimes when I show films to kids and they get, this isn't interesting. And I'm like, you literally could not make a better movie on your own. So knock it off. Any one of my students could make a movie using any of these same shots. So I'm giving this 1.5 for execution.
In fact, I did make a better student film that is currently on YouTube, but Andrew's still looking for it.
Yeah.
I challenged him that he has to be able to find it on his own because you have to search YouTube to find it.
Challenge accepted. He and I will join forces. We will form Megatron and we will.
I might have the link.
Oh, Dana, let's talk later. So that's a total of what? 3 for me for novelty.
Okay. I find this to be a little bit more original, but not all that much. And I guess my points down for this is more in the execution where I have it at a 1, but I have a 3 for the originality. I just didn't think there were many sex positive dramedies by this point. I mean, there were enough like sex comedies, but this isn't exactly a sex comedy. And yes, there are plenty that are better done, but I think they're from a later era when we were more comfortable exploring this in a better way. That's not to say like the movie is good because of its unique qualities, but I don't think I can remember anything truly that is like this. And so I'll give it a generous 3, but I have a 1 on the execution. It's pretty dry. I think a couple of the actors did pretty well, but even Beatty's acting in this can't really save much of it.
Acting.
Yeah, I'm like, Beatty's never saved anything with his acting at all.
I mean, Lee Grant, Jack Warden, and that's about it for me.
Goldie Hawn.
So I'm going to go with a 4.
The originality, I'm going to go a little bit higher. I'm going to go with a 4 for originality. And the reason why is because this is the first time I've saw a film where it talked about the upper crust of, the Hollywood Bel Air life with the lowest level of sexploitation that was going on in the 60s. And it kind of merged them and showed that the elite were no better than the rest of us. And so I think it kind of gave a pull back the covers of what was really going on in Bel Air among all the very wealthy and the, wearing the tuxes to the formal dinners and such, realizing that this is the first time where they're all a bunch of degenerates too. I'm going to go with a 4 for originality, and I'm going to go with a 1 for execution because, quite frankly, you could have had the third director doing this and it would have made no difference because there was nothing in here. I mean, okay, go, shoot. Okay, cut, wrap, neck. Oh, God. It's so canned.
For being a name recognized director in Hal Ashby, I don't see that this was all that great.
This to me is like, well, Hal, I know you're going through a divorce right now. Do you need some cash? Just show up. I haven't looked to see if that's indeed true, but it wouldn't surprise me. So I'm at a 1 for execution. So I'm at a 5 overall.
And that makes it a 4 average between the three of us. Easy math so far. All right, Dad. Before I have all of my criticisms, let's hear all of yours and the likely very, very low score that you will give this one. Let me see here. Which was the one that we gave a 2 a couple of weeks back that you said was possibly your lowest Classicness score to date?
MASH.
That's right. I think you gave MASH a 2. Does this come in underneath that?
No, but damn close. The homophobic bent of this entire movie, the fact of the senator going, I mean, what the fuck? Is that supposed to be like a slam on Native Americans or what? I haven't figured it out.
It's cultural appropriation.
Yeah. The only reason that I come out a little higher is because at least the women in this film seem to be the only ones with any moral compass. At least know what they want and get it. I'm at a 3.
All right. That seems reasonable. And the reason I say that it's reasonable was it was my score originally before I considered the cultural appropriation of the Native American thing that the senator's doing. I don't know if he's trying to be appreciative of diversity, but since apparently diversity causes plane crashes.
Oh, I shouldn't laugh about that, but oh.
Yeah, anyway, let's just say that, first off, isn't Carrie Fisher supposed to be like under 18?
Yeah.
Bad luck so far. All right. Even if she does proposition him, the fact that he'd be willing to do it is extremely dated. It's also grounded in a bygone era where the potency of the film and its themes, the deeper themes, have to do with Dick Nixon? Seriously? You have to be over 50 to even basically know anything about the Watergate era.
Yeah.
Most people my age are like, Watergate what? Now, if you want to talk Deflategate or Spygate or any of the other gates, then they'll get into shit with
That
you.
Gates?
Sure. But I already had 3 off from our traditional 6. I'll give an extra half point down. I'm going to go with a 2.5.
This movie is stuck in time. There is almost nothing that is relevant that can move forward. We don't function in this era anymore. Everything is the fact that it had to take place on election night in
Also, the election of 1968. So it's not even commenting on like recent or current events. It's commenting on something from 7 years prior
exactly.
most people don't have a political history appreciation for anyway.
Right. So I think I was trying to think why did it have to be then? Couldn't it have been any election for any made up politician? But it had to be rooted in this real, to me, I think it's trying to be nostalgic for that era a little bit, like, ooh, things were better then, or we had more. I don't know. Everything about it just gives me, it creeps me out. And the homophobia alone is bad. The stuff with Carrie Fisher's character, she's technically 19, I think, when they were filming, which made me feel at least she's not actually underage, because there were plenty of films being made in that time where you had actual actresses who were underage being propositioned and all of that type of stuff. But he's at least 20 years older than her, even if she's not underage. And the whole, I hate this movie, guys. I hate it. It's not like Cimarron levels of hate, but like, I really dislike it. And there's nobody to like.
The quickest way to stop talking about it is to give a score and move on.
You're right. You're so right. I'm giving it a 2.
Well, thank you yet again for easy math. That is a 2.5.
Next time I'm going to give it like a 1.38. Just to piss
All
you
right. I think this is going to be the most interesting of the categories so far. Rewatchability.
Actually, so here I have a question just in general. How many times have we collectively seen this film now? Because Dana, you said you had seen it several times. So how many times all over do you think you've seen it? Because I think I've seen it at this point about 7 times.
I think maybe I've seen it 4.
Okay.
Including this watching.
Okay.
Okay, so that would be 12.
The last time probably I watched this film was 1978 or 79.
Okay.
Let's just put it this way. That's about right. Because that's about the amount of time I would need before I'd rewatch it again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm 61. So I'm figuring that's 45 years. So if I hit 96, I will make this promise. I will rewatch Shampoo for my 96th birthday.
This is going to be on the internet, so people will hold you to that.
I love it.
It's going to be the strangest birthday.
Because I already made the pledge that if I hit 90, all I'm going to do is smoke cigars, eat ice cream, and drink bourbon.
We'll give you 12 different kinds of pasta, including a cine de pipi. And we'll watch Shampoo.
He's gonna like increase his cigar intake when he hits 90 in order to avoid making it to have to watch Shampoo.
Oh, my luck. It'll just prolong it.
The thing is, but if he does hit 96, he's just going to be drooling all over himself, so he won't know what is actually going on, and it's more for the rest of us. So what you're saying is that he's not going to understand what's going on in the film anymore 40 or 30 some years later.
Oh, no,
It's gonna be his
So-
favorite movie all of a sudden.
So what you're advocating for is 95 years and 364 days is to smother him with a pillow.
Yes. So that we don't have to watch it. Well, we didn't say we had to watch it, just that he would watch it.
So walk out of the room and let him watch this trash.
Oh,
It's shampoo day. Everybody disappears.
I am giving it a 1.5. I won't get off of I won't go and like search around the house for the remote if it's not handy to turn it off if it comes on.
You just walk away.
That's on a very subjective basis. I will say this from an objective perspective. It's a reasonable length. It's a 70s movie, which for a lot of people has some sway to it and some extra credence. It has some sex. It has some comedy a little bit, which make it a little bit more accessible. But I just don't see many people returning to this often. And that has been borne out over time as most people have either forgotten about it. And it's not like everybody's parents are introducing them to these kinds of films. So I'm going to go with a 2.5. If it were personal, it would be lower.
Can you imagine me coming to you when you're like 17, 18 and going, oh, you have to watch Shampoo?
Is that any different than you having me watch Revenge of the Nerds when I'm 10?
Well, okay.
Or when I'm 8, showing me Caddyshack and then trying to fast forward through the nudie parts?
Those are the best parts.
Caddyshack holds up.
Well,
Revenge of the Nerds.
the worst nudie
Eh.
scene in Caddyshack, you couldn't even hit the skip button fast enough. You missed it because it happens like that.
And you've tried and tried and tried and tried.
Oh, God.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Anyway, moving on. We have one last score to go.
I already seen this movie more times than you two put together. So I think as a novelty, I might say, hey guys, I was on this podcast talking about this movie. And if you want to laugh at what we're laughing at, maybe you should watch it. But I don't know if I want to watch it with anyone.
100 minutes of pain for 2 hours of laughing?
I can think of some people right now that I want them to watch this movie so that I know what I'm talking about. But do I want to sit through it with them? Because I've already seen it 6 times and twice within the last few days. So
Honestly, the way we've described it, I don't know if they need to watch the film in order to appreciate this conversation.
I mean, fair
No.
enough. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to be a little more generous because I'm ashamed of how many times I've seen this film.
So for you, it's rinse, repeat.
Yeah, otherwise I'm gonna be stuck with curlers in my hair forever. I'm gonna give it like a 1.35. You're welcome.
No.
No, it's honestly it's like a 1.5 for me in terms of
Okay.
rewatchability. There's no actual reason to rewatch it, but I've already watched it so many times. I have to give a little bit. I would give it a 1, but I've already suffered for the art. So
The way it's been going, Tom, if we can find it in a Blu-ray or DVD bin someplace for $1, you better pick it up because I don't think it'll be available when I'm 96.
he's gonna last to 96 just to spite you now.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this has certainly been an interesting evening. For audience score on this one, they apparently liked it only slightly more than we did. It was 70% on Google and 56% on Rotten Tomatoes for a 6.3. So, to repeat the categories here, and I suppose I forgot to say that rewatchability was a 1.83 average between the three of us.
Oh god.
That was a 3.5 for Legacy, an 8.5 for impact and significance, a 4 for novelty, a 2.5 for classicness, a 1.83 for rewatchability, a 6.3 for audience score, giving us a final total of 26.63 and placing it third to last on the list.
Yes.
It is only the fourth movie to break the 20s barrier. It places just behind Victory and only slightly ahead of The Greatest Show on Earth.
I am so proud to be part of this moment. Oh my gosh.
Okay. If you disagreed with any of our scoring, well, screw you.
Why are you watching this movie and scoring it?
We did this for you so you didn't have to.
Right. I did it 6 times.
This is the equivalent of jumping on a grenade.
It's cinemasochism at its finest. Let's move to remaining questions. We'll fire through these so quickly. The first one is a bit rhetorical. Why so much focus on Richard Nixon here?
Because it showed the decay of the upper class. It was supposed to be a metaphor to show Nixon being corrupt and nasty, profane, etc. And, this idea that it was only the hippies of the time that were like that. And the upper crust were the same. They just hid it. It's kind of like now.
All right. Would Jackie have been happier with Lester or George?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
She's such a gold digger. What difference?
Well, because she's a gold digger, she's not going to be happy with George. They already broke up. And so, in fact, the only reason George happens to see her again, like on accident, right? They were already off on their separate ways. The only reason this movie happens is because he accidentally sees her and then he's like, oh, feelings, I guess. He has nothing to offer her.
Feelings.
Nothing more than feelings. Yeah. So he has nothing to offer her. And apparently he's not that good in bed, right? Because she's not sticking around. They already broke up once. And sexual compatibility is literally not enough to base a relationship on. There is no way she would have been happy with George. She still would have had a Lester on the side. Who's to say she didn't have a Lester or literally Lester on the side anyway when she was with George to begin with?
I'm sorry, I vehemently disagree. There are relationships that are purely based on sexual compatibility. They're not healthy.
I understand. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't create happiness. So the question was, who she's going to be happier with? She's going to be happier with Lester because her bills are going to be paid and he likes her and she likes him. And she's going to, if she stays with George, she's going to end up with a Lester anyway.
The ultimate aphrodisiac is a fat wallet.
I don't know.
It can make the ugliest guy look really good.
I said the sexiest thing I've ever said probably in my life is I can fold a fitted sheet.
I mean, it's true. It gets me hot. But trust me, I've been married to George. There's no.
You married Warren Beatty?
Yeah. I actually might have been happier with actual Warren Beatty making this trash movie. But his character, here's the thing, George isn't going to be happy with Jackie either. He's asking her to marry him because I got caught and Jill is leaving me. That's it. He doesn't want to be alone, which I think one of us mentioned that. One of you two mentioned that already. So no, Jackie is doing exactly what Jackie should do. Good on her. She's going to be happy and until another Jackie comes along to take her place, because she's taking Felicia's place. I mean, Lester was hitting on Jill, by the way, in the car. Oh, Jill, hi. Jill, hi. How's it going? Oh, yeah, I'll go wherever you're going. Let's go get a drink. Oh, I'm going to go to the party that you're going. Oh, I'm going to go get in this hot tub. Oh.
When you're the other woman and you end up with the guy, why do you think that there isn't going to be yet another woman?
If they will cheat with you, for you, they will cheat on you. It's just, that's going to be the whole thing over and over again.
Does George end up with a successful salon of his own?
What in the fuck in this movie lets you believe that he can run a business?
That's my question. What is his work schedule?
Hey, hold on. I know a very successful business owner who just constantly walks out in the middle of the day and does their own thing.
Oh God, I can't comment.
What are the great entrepreneurs that I know? Anyway, Sarah, you had some remaining questions.
Well, but my question was based on, okay, so one of them was based off of how could he possibly be successful even up to this point? I don't see, he's not really good at hair. Are we supposed to believe that he gave Jackie and Felicia the same haircut?
Yes.
They don't look the same. Why didn't they get two wigs that were identical? Because it doesn't look the same.
All I will say at this point is my jaw is hurting from laughing and smiling too much.
Good. And then no, I'm cutting my rest of my questions because they just make me mad.
Okay.
Yes.
This is why Goldie Hawn is the best part of this movie, because she is adorable and I might have a crush on her and I liked her. Everyone else is garbage.
Go watch Sugarland Express. Much better film.
It had better score too. Oh, okay. Here's one of my questions. What the hell is with Paul Simon and this score? He gets score credit, but it's like just him going like twice. That's it. The Beatles play more than Paul Simon in this movie.
Okay. All I will say is that the entire movie seems to be predicated on people who underperformed.
True. Also, you know that Paul Simon and Carrie Fisher got married, right? They were married for a time.
She was his the love of his life.
Okay. I'm calm. No more laughing. I'm very serious.
Well, good, because at this point, we'd like to thank you for being here. Remind everybody where they can find you and what you're working on.
Yeah, so I'm Sara Shea. Show is Shea Cinema. You can find me on Instagram and Threads. I think I have a profile on Twitter. I never go over there.
Don't forget TikTok.
Oh, TikTok. TikTok is a separate thing where I do handwriting under a different name. But if you want to check it out, Harley writes things on TikTok. That's a whole lot of stuff. I do movie quotes and things like that. Going to be on Revisionist Almanac shortly. We'll have new episodes up soon for our show. We are in the middle of 1933 for that. And I don't know. That's it. That's it. Yeah.
The synergy going on here, because I was asked for guest questions, or I guess listener questions, for the It Happened One Night episode of BPC that is also being recorded this evening.
Oh, yeah. They're getting to it right before we get to talk about it. Yep.
So some synergy. Although that is a film that we discussed roughly around this time last year.
Yeah, well, the great thing about all the prep for 1934, it literally prepares me for our 7th season, which is the 1934 Academy Awards. So it's like I did front end cramming for future work, which is great.
Well, thank you again for being on with us, but Final thoughts for the week, Dad.
I'm trying to get through as many of the best Academy Award nominees. I will say a couple weeks ago, if I had not mentioned it, I did enjoy Complete Unknown. I thought it was a very well done movie. I did happen to see on streaming The Apprentice and thought Jeremy Strong was absolutely mesmerizing as Roy Cohn. Somebody old enough to remember Roy Cohn, he had him down. Thought his performance was extremely strong. So looking forward to it, and I guess that's about all.
Yeah, I caught A Complete Unknown over the weekend. I've gotten in Nora. I got in The Substance, regretfully. I got in
I liked it.
most of Nickel Boys, but I'm going to save most of that discussion for our Oscars preview, which we do have an official date for that. That is going to be the 23rd of February. That's going to be a live stream on our YouTube channel. We'll upload the live stream after the fact to the audio channel, but if you want to catch it live, it's going to be at 6 p.m. on Sunday night that week. And then we're going to have our reaction show the day after the Oscars. That's going to be at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on March 3rd. I have to watch the Oscars likely from a bus on the way back from Cleveland.
No, it won't be Central Standard Time. It will be Central Daylight Time.
Okay.
Is daylight savings time coming up?
First Saturday of March.
Oh, great. Yet again, they put a residency weekend for law school on the date at where the clocks turn. Fantastic.
Spring forward.
Great planning, guys. Anyway, so I'm going to save the conversation for that. But as I've gotten at least the two people, and we talked about it briefly before, both of the people that share this podcast space with me right now, into Severance, the last episode, episode 3 that just came out. I love Eminence Front as a song. What a glorious use of Eminence Front to end an episode.
Yes, agreed.
And I
Agreed.
can't wait for what everybody is already saying is the best episode of the show so far, which will be out tomorrow.
Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow.
So, if you are not yet watching this show, and I understand fully if you do not have Apple TV Plus, but if you have an iPhone or whatever else and got like a free gift for it and you're just not using it, do yourself a favor. This is the best show on television right now. Arguably, it's between three things. It is between Shogun, Industry, and Severance. But those are the three best, and I would accept an argument for any one of those three. But outside of that, I don't know what you're doing. If you if you like good television, you like interesting, intimate characters, and good thrillers, you watch any one of those shows. I think that's a good place to end it for the week. Thank you for listening. We're all pretty bizarre. Some of us are just better at hiding it, that's all. Next week, we welcome back our most frequent guest, Christine Duncan, to discuss an 80s classic and one of Dana's favorites, The Breakfast Club from 1985. Written and directed by John Hughes. Music by Keith Forsey. Starring Emilio Estevez, Molly Ringwald, Anthony Michael Hall, Ali Sheedy, and Judd Nelson. You won't want to miss that one, so watch ahead of the show by searching the Real Good app to find where it's streaming for you. That's REELGOOD. Please like, follow, rate, and review, or whatever on whichever platform you have so that more can join in on our fun. You can also email the show at RonnieDuncanStudios.com or at greatestalltimemoviepodcast@gmail.com, or find us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Letterboxd, or TikTok at the handle @GModePodcast. The Greatest Movie of All Time is a production of Ronnie Duncan Studios. Our show is mixed, edited, and written by Thomas Duncan. Our music is thanks to Purple Planet Music. Our technical provider and distributor is Captivate FM.